Hello, everybody. Welcome to our musical director and accompanist panel. It is going to be hopefully a really fun hour and chatting with some of the best in the business and certainly out here in LA and Orange County. I think we have like almost everybody except for Alan Everman and Daryl Archibald and Jerry Sternbach. I think literally everyone else is represented here today, and we're super excited and honored that they're giving us their time. So I'm going to introduce each panelist, and just to let everyone know kind of what we're doing. If you attended the casting director panel, it'll be a similar format where we're going to ask questions of all of them, and questions to some individuals and smaller groups of people. You can put questions that Gigi, my co-host, will be keeping track of. Oh yeah, and Ryan O'Connell, he's here too in spirit. That's right. But anyway, yeah, we if you have questions, we'll try to keep track of those, and we'll do a Q&A hopefully at the end. But yeah, here we go. This is gonna be awesome. Let me change my view to make sure I can see people. Okay, so first, he is an incredible, this guy, really quickly, he came in and literally saved the day. We had a production, this is how I met him. We had a production of Into the Woods that we did. And we had an actor book a national commercial, and we had to put another actor up into that part, and then bring another actor in who had done the show before in a different part, come in and play that part. It was madness. And the person who we had to use was playing Keys 1 in the pit. And Julielamoureux was our music director, conductor for that show. And it was a wild situation. And we met this guy who, we were like, can you play Sondheim? And can you play Into the Woods and play it perfectly without any rehearsal? And he's like, sure. And there he won our hearts and definitely saved the day, and has been an accompanist for us as an up-and-coming music director, Mr. Rod Bagheri.
Hey, Rod.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, welcome.
Happy to be here.
So next we have my newest friend. Love him very much. He came in and worked as an associate with our production of Gentleman's Guide, and then most recently directed our production of Kinky Booze, Mr. Benet Brown.
Hey.
Now, this man is one of the busiest people I know, and has not been at 3D for way too long, but did our production of Legally Blonde, and has since been all consumed at Disney, and occasionally gets to work at McCoy Rigby when he gets to step his foot out of Disneyland. But the incredible John Gladini. Then we have, of course, one of my close friends and person I love very much, Juilliard graduate and just an incredible human being, has musically directed a lot for 3D. Last time he and I collaborated was on The Full Monty. We have the incredible Corey Hirsch.
Hey, guys.
There it is. Awesome.
Good to be here.
And oh my gosh, this woman, where are you? There you are. I love her so much. She did our production of many productions for us, and I think last was Hello Dolly?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was the last time. Holy moly. So long overdue to also come back. But we love her. We have Hooray.
Hi, guys.
And then we have, okay, so this next man, I go back to childhood with. I have known him for most of my life, and love this guy. He not only is a brilliant music director, but also a brilliant director, has done both of those things for us, as well as contracts our orchestras, which are, I would biasly say the best, but definitely certainly among the best here in our area. And we have the incredible David Lamoureux.
Hi, everybody.
And then, all the greatness must be attributed to how he was raised, because we go to a woman of the same last name, someone who I adore collaborating with and have done many shows with, and have also known for most of Julie Lamoureux.
Hey, everybody.
There you are. Hey. And almost to the end here, we have also a very new friend and love her dearly. I was so impressed. She has played for us, also was the music director for Matilda at McCoy Rigby, has been offered a job but yet to accept for 3D Theatricals. But we have the incredible Jennifer Lynn. Woo!
Hey.
And then last but certainly not least, my favorite person to hug in the world and just the brightest smiling face you could ever see behind the piano. We have the incredible Jenny Schneep. Yay!
Hey.
All right. So that's everybody. It's a big old panel today, but there's a lot to cover and a lot of opinions. And kind of what I want to cover and make sure you all are empowered with as artists when you leave here is that really knowing that there is a lot more gray area than there are black and white. We're going to cover as much of that as we possibly can. But things like, how do I prep my music and what's the best way to do that and all that, you're going to find that there are different, and I want people to, on the panel to have different opinions because I think that's only going to make you go, oh, I am damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't, and I just need to do what works best for me and or the majority. So, and also it's smart if you take out your notepad and or phone or whatever and make notes, because you can make some specific notes about the preferences of a lot of these people as you go into audition for them. You can really more cater to each individual person if you have the time and the brain space for that. Okay, so I'm gonna get started. Everyone, if you have all of my panelists, if you can unmute yourselves, because basically right now we're gonna be on a microphone view so that as you speak, your person will come into view. Try your best not to speak over each other because then that gets crazy. Also to everyone in the room, we apologize. Zoom is having a lot of issues today. It's been on not just our platform, but evidently on Zoom worldwide, because I'm sure they're getting crazy amounts of attention right now, is having some delays. It's so just know that we are sorry and it's out of our control. But these sessions will be recorded and many of these sessions will be reposted and we'll let you know when and where. Okay, I'm gonna ask the whole panel as short of an answer as you possibly can, and I'll let you know who is going in what order. So I want everyone to tell me your favorite do, so your favorite thing that someone does when they come in a room, whether for an audition or for a callback, and your favorite and your least favorite, like, dear Lord in heaven, please don't ever do that again, or try to avoid this. So I'm gonna start with Rod. Favorite do, favorite don't.
I'm gonna go out of the box. My favorite do is treating us like people. I think a lot of people forget that the people behind the table and your accompanists are human beings. So talk to us like humans. That's because it's so nice and it shows that you're relaxed and in control. And then I think my least favorite don't is probably just the inverse of that, coming in with an attitude, throwing your battered old book on the piano bench, saying 16 and walking away with an attitude and acting like you're gracing us. It's a super collaborative thing, and I think we all want each other to succeed. So,
amen. Benet.
Yeah, I think the best thing you can do is to just make sure that you are prepared, because that preparation is going to carry confidence and you're going to be in a much better position to share and collaborate, like Rob said. So the more you can do to make sure that your music is set, that you know how your cut's going to go, so that you can communicate confidently, and I'm totally there. But I think preparation is what gives that confidence to put you in a position to share. That's what I think.
Amazing, awesome. John Gladini.
I'm on the same page as the other guys, because it's really about confidence, and the do and don't is basically don't apologize. You're there. We want you to be the person. So yeah, come in and being prepared and coming in positively, and they're kind of hand in hand to in an audition.
I love it. So many of you who have been in many of these sessions, I hope you're seeing so many commonalities. Oh yeah, good. We have we didn't get to introduce Brent. Brent, are you where did he go? Brent. Wait, no. That's great. So now Corey Hirsch.
Hey, I'm gonna echo my top don't apologize, especially if you're sick. Don't need to explain anything. Our job is to kind of see beyond that. I want to see you just tell the story. And so that's my top do is come in telling a story, know what you're there to say, transform the room into the short audition that you have.
Great. dianekingvannl.
As an accompanist, music director, and having played lots of auditions for myself, have your music in the right key. Have loose pages that are going to fly off a synthesizer keyboard because it won't stay put. Know music backwards, forwards, and then sing. So it's about having that voice ready, that music ready, and then just go for it, full tilt.
Woohoo. David Lamoureux.
Well, I mean, chiming in and echoing everything that everyone said, I mean, they're all astute observations, I think. As far as a do, I appreciate someone who comes in with a sense of expeditiousness. So the process of, especially on an EPA day or something like that, where we're going to be behind the table for potentially 12 hours, someone who comes in and their methodology and approach from like door to piano to singing to piano to out is very contained and not full of extra nervous beats. It keeps me a lot more focused on what that person has to bring to the table instead of being focused on the time that is being spent on that person stepping in front of the table. As far as a don't, I just don't sing a song that you don't know in the wealth of repertoire that's out there.
Yeah.
And I get the instinct to want to sing something that you really think is exactly the right song for this particular audition. But if you don't know it, sing something that you know. Like sing something that's a best foot forward. Don't use it as so much of an experimentation. Hi, Brent.
Hey, Brent.
But yeah, sing something that you know. Don't come in and sing something that you are not familiar with, that you're not going to do service to. Like you're going to bring much more judgment down on yourself just for your familiarity with that song than anything to do with your actual performance vocally, I think.
Couldn't agree more. Julie Lamoureux.
So I'll start with my don't, and it's not contradicting what David said. I totally agree with be prepared. Don't pick something that you think is right and perfect for this show, but you don't know it. So, but don't come in and sing Jason Robert Brown for a Rodgers and Hammerstein show, or, you know, sing something that's appropriate for the show. And so that can also be my do, but let me take that a little further and say, sing a well-crafted cut, you know, give it some time to figure out how can I actually show an arc through this cut, and how can I make it have a beginning, middle, and end. And you can do that even with 16 bars if you just, you know, think creatively, get someone to help you, work with someone, and then you'll also avoid those unpleasantries of there's a key change in the middle of your cut that you cut and pasted that you didn't know about, you know. So just really spend some time to prepare an excellent cut.
I love it. And a lot of these answers are tying into subjects that we're going to even tackle more later. So Jennifer Lynn.
Hi. I think a lot of the do's have been said already. For me, the main don't, and I'm seeing this a lot, especially at the college level, is just bringing in like a cut that's only belting. And so like especially a lot of like new pop musical theater that just kind of calls for that, but like that's not what we want to see in the audition, you know, like, and especially if and don't sing a song, even if, you know, you prepped it, that, you know, you like can't hit that note today, you know, like you should have a backup song. If you're like, I'm not in my best form today, like I'm going to do a song that's slightly different, you know, that's a little bit easier and will show me off better. So yeah, it's all in the same realm of like being prepared. But yeah, I think my biggest pet peeve is like, we just heard somebody belt beautifully for 16 measures and we don't know if they can tell a story or not.
Amen. Jenny Schneep.
My do is to make sure you triple, quadruple check that your cut has all the pages in the correct order. because
Oh,
the
man.
amount of times that sometimes you turn a page and it's not right is a lot. And you just hope if you turn again, it's the right page. And then you have to remember to go backwards. And then my don't, which if anyone follows my Facebook knows, is just please don't put your drink or really anything on the piano. Please don't slam your water bottle on it. I really, really hate that.
Yeah, that's definitely what people, if you don't play the piano, you may just not realize how disrespectful that is and how much that can really ruin the instrument, whether it be an electronic or real piano. So that's a great thing to clarify. So I'm gonna ask two of you, Corey and Julie, because I know you both, at least at one point, I think still are this way. One of you prefers to play and one of you prefers to not. And I think just talking about like, Corey, I know you prefer to play for your auditions, and just talking about like why and what that means to you with the communication with the actor. And then like for Julie, you know, for you, you know, what is that relationship then? Like, how do you, what is important for you about taking them in, you know, from behind the table rather than behind the piano? So let's have Corey go first.
Sure, it just expedites the information for me. I can get a better sense of their ability to lead and draw tempos out, or especially big rallentandos, and just see how much they can force me to work musically. I like that, but also I selfishly just like to play piano and get a chance, you know. But and also get a chance to look at their score, because I can learn a lot about their musicality through how they've arranged their music.
So it's super important. I think, you know, it's interesting, like, and we'll talk about also like accompanists and what kind of voice they have in the room if they're not musically directing, and what they'll share with. But I mean, just so you take away from the fact that, you know, you're literally, especially if you have an MD that's playing for you, they're analyzing everything about from the moment you touch base with them. So it's important to really confident, which is what everyone has been saying, and sure of yourself. So Julie, what about you?
It's really just a practical thing. I can hear better if I'm not playing, because I don't have so much of the sound of the piano coming right at me. Mm-hmm. And then also I can watch their face and see their storytelling, how they communicate when they sing. I can look, see, do they have a lot of tension in their neck, or are they free, you know? So that's why I just prefer to not be thinking about playing while I'm listening and assessing.
Fantastic. Okay, great. I'm going to play a little game with a few of you. I need Jenny, give me an example of a horrible way to give a tempo.
In my face.
In your face. Julie, give me a great and or acceptable way to give a tempo.
The sun will come out tomorrow. Just something where you're just clapping your own hands gently, or just, you know, there's a little movement in your body where I can see, and singing the first phrase while you're showing me that.
Fantastic. Rod,
Yes.
a horrible way to give a tempo.
Oh, when you're like trying to find your own key, so you're like, God, and I don't care what key you're in. I just want to know how fast the song is.
I love that. It made me laugh so hard. Jeanette's dying. Okay, and Jennifer, another acceptable way to give tempo.
Tapping on yourself, and definitely singing out loud, because if you don't sing out loud, you don't have it in your body. So tap and sing at the same time. And
I think the way that Jennifer just said seems to be the more widely now accepted and preferred method is giving that kind of tapping on your chest or on your leg while singing along. I think that's great. That was really fun. Okay, so can I have now, this is another interesting question, going to be for a few of you. what info, I know a lot of people, when I'm sitting in an audition room, oh my gosh, sometimes people take so long at the piano. And I don't know if it's because they're like, I'm a little too nervous and I just need to calm myself down before I walk in and sing, or if they're giving way too much information. So what info is relevant versus not relevant? I'm gonna start with Rod. Like, what do you need?
Always tempo. Even if it's the most known song in the world, tempo varies from conductor to conductor and accompanist to accompanist. So even if we know the tune, give us the tempo. What we don't need, I think, is all the little things that look like they're intimidating. If there's like time signature changes or there's like dynamic changes, that's on the sheet and we're gonna see that. You don't need to tell us to like play forte here or play piano there. The big thing is tempo, where you're starting, where you're stopping, and what your intro is. Always know what your intro is. And that's the 4 main ingredients to a good audition.
Great. Jennifer, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say, like, yeah, we don't need to know the little things. Like Rod said, anything that's printed on the page, like, that's our responsibility. But if you're taking a giant railroad track cut that's not normally there, like, do highlight that, do bring that out. Anything, or if, like, you did a creative cut, like Julie was saying earlier, and we're going from, like, the bridge into not the chorus suddenly or something like that, then let us know if there's, like, a cut or a switch that's not normal. That's not what we would expect if we were just sight reading the piece traditionally.
Great. And Benet, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, you guys are going to hate me. I made up a rap to teach college kids how to remember what to say. So I'm going to hit you with it.
I knew I was supposed to ask you this question. Oh, that's great.
Let me say, though, that Rod and Jen, there are a couple things in my rap that might be superfluous or whatever. However, it's designed to give college students the tools to make them successful and prepared in handing their music to anybody. So, are you ready? Okay, here it is. Ready? 2, 3. The beginning and the end, the cuts and the keys, the tempo changes and cues, please.
Yeah.
So, right away, I want to know the beginning and the end. Are there any cuts? Go ahead and mark your key changes just in case. You never know who's going to be sitting there. The tempo, where does it start? Are there any big rubato sections I need to be aware of? And please go back to question 1. Be a person, be considerate. That's my rap.
Love. That's the best way to end that question.
But I have something to add to this, TJ, can I add to this?
Oh, please. Yeah, go. Yeah.
Something that seems really obvious, but you'd be surprised how many times people don't tell me or mark on their music what song it is. So then it wastes a few seconds while I'm scanning through. Is this something I know? You know, so make sure to tell the accompanist what song it is, or have written on the top of your cut what it is.
That's a fantastic suggestion, because often people are not starting at the beginning with the title of the song there. So that's fantastic. All right, next question is, how do you like your music? Because I have people who are like, in sheets, not in sheets, with glare, no glare, because of how they feel in your fingers, in a binder, not in a binder, taped and laid out for me. So I'm gonna ask a few of you, and if anyone has, if you're not asked this question, a burning answer they must say, then do so. Jenny, I'm gonna start with you. For you, your preference on music.
I like it in a binder just because you never know what I like to call it the wind situation in a room is. So in a binder, double-sided, I'm okay with like 1 fold out. If you get more than 1 fold out, often you run out of stand space. I don't have a preference on sheet protectors. They should be non-glare, probably, but sometimes the lighting in the room, even non-glare ones still glare, but in a binder is my #1 pet peeve.
Julie, same question.
If you are cutting something up, I really prefer to have it cut and pasted so that it's not, I play 2 bars on this page and then I cut to the bottom of the next page. And so make your audition cut have as few pages as possible and easiest to just read straight through. And as Jenny already said, double-sided is critical. Make the accompanist have as few page turns as possible, hopefully no page turns.
That only helps you for sure, meaning the artist. You're helping your accompanist and you're helping yourself. Diane, same question. Diane. Where did you go? Is she gone? She was like, peace. No. Maybe she got kicked out. Hopefully she'll
I'm
be
here.
Oh,
Hello?
you're here. Oh, hi. Okay, there you are. Okay, so same question. Same question.
Okay. So make sure that the music is clear black and white. I've had people come in with music on green paper. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
All right. I've had it come in that it looks like it's been through World War II and you're trying to read coffee stains and God knows what else on the music. So yes, and make sure when you have it, if it's either double-sided or taped in a notebook is my favorite. No sheets. Hi, Rod. Well, so there you go.
Great.
I don't know how much that came through or not.
No, that all came through. That was
Okay.
great. So song selection, you know, I'm sure this depends on the project, but I'm just gonna put it out there as a general question. From the score, not from the score, obviously in the style of the show, but I mean from the score, not from the score, or just style of the show. Do you like people when they come in with an unusual choice? And then also, like, sometimes people just come in with a song, like Julie would say. Julie, I use this same example all the time, as I'm sure we all do, coming in with a Jason Robert Brown, super impressive, or, you know, whatever, for a Rodgers and Hammerstein show. But some people come in with some really impressive song to show off their voice because that's what they want to sing, but it has nothing to do with the show. So let's start with David. What are your thoughts about song choice?
I love hearing songs from the show. I'm definitely not someone in the camp that has any aversion to that at all. I think that it's a real fast-tracked way to kind of suss out, especially, you know, 90% of anything that we're holding auditions for in Los Angeles is going to be something that goes up under a relatively rapid rehearsal process. So it's not critical that someone has done the show, knows the show like the back of their hand, but certainly someone who has an affinity and already like a very comfortable working relationship with like the musical vocabulary of a particular composer, or even within, like, I think within a decade is pretty safe generally. You know, like if you don't have something from that show, but you have something that you can draw, you know, a relatively straight line A to B, like here's why I chose this for this piece, line 2. Within the same decade is usually a good call, you know. Even if it's something that's kind of pastiche within a decade, there's usually something else within that decade that's similarly pastiche. So if you don't want to draw from something that score specific, you know, you have options, but I love hearing from the score, in my opinion.
Great. John, same question.
It depends on where we are in the audition process. I mean, I agree with David. I like hearing from the score because it does cut to the chase, but I do like to see your musical choices, to see where you are as an actor, how smart you are. Like if someone picks a song that, oh yeah, I see what role you're going for, or I see what you had a thought in picking that song. I do have a pet peeve of people picking obscure songs to the point where the song is the star and not the singer, where you spend the whole time at the table going, what's that song from? Who, like, or the song is hilarious, but it didn't show me anything because it was like 3 notes of a patter. So it's really important that in your song choice, whatever you pick shows the range and the tessitura, or the where for the role that you think you're right for. It shows those notes. It shows sort of what we're looking for.
Such a great point about comedy songs. People are like, should I do a comedy? You know, all this stuff, and it's like, unless you're going in for a role that is a patter role, like a pseudolist or something like that, they just don't make a lot of sense in the audition room because you just don't hear enough. So I think that's a really great point about that. It's awesome. Okay, so Julie, same question.
I agree with everything those two, David and John, both said, and especially let me hear the vocal requirements of that role in the song that you pick. Because then right off the bat, first of all, we know you're smart and you know what the role requires. And secondly, then it saves time at callbacks. You know, we know already that you have the vocal range that's required. And creativity is good to a point, but also like John said, you know, don't come in with something where the song is the star. So it is impactful to me. I'm very impressed when someone comes in and has chosen a lesser known and 100% appropriate song for a role, and it actually does kind of score them enough points that they're like high on my list, because I'm so impressed with just how they thought this all out and didn't just, you know, pick a 5-second song out of their book that they've been using all along, but that they planned way ahead and prepared for this specific audition.
Fantastic. Benet, anything to add to that? Nope. Great.
Nice,
really. No, I'm gonna let it go. That's good.
Great. Rod, you said you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just have because I also love when people take big risks to a point. And my theory behind that is that a big swing either gets you a home run or a strikeout, and sometimes that's just the chance you take. And so you're choosing between swinging hard for it, and I think both are acceptable.
That's great. This next question is for Corey, Benet, and Jennifer. People come in with transposed charts, online purchases. Obviously, the 101 answer is make sure you've actually used that music with an accompanist, which you'd be surprised how many people do not do that. But yeah, anything like about specifically like when you're dealing with someone who's transposed something, what that chart should look like, shouldn't look like, anything like that. And it's for Corey, Benet, or Jennifer, anyone that wants to answer that or chime in first, or anyone that, yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'll just say, I'm sorry. For some reason our internet went out today, so I'm using Signal, and so I have to move around to find it. So it's a little bit frustrating. I can hear you, but I can't see you. It's all frozen. I would say if you're going to sing from the score and you're transposing it, I want to know why. Especially if you bring it down and you're singing from the score, that always gives me a big red flag.
That's probably,
but if you're going to sing something,
that's probably like a don't, right? Like that's like, don't come in and sing from the score and transpose it down. Like, don't do that.
I lost the last part of your question.
Oh, I was just saying that's probably like a universal don't. Like don't.
Yeah, but it happens a lot more than people realize. Either they or they're getting up from an anthology book, which is in a different key, and I don't like that. It tells me that you haven't researched the show enough, especially if you're singing from the show. But if you're going to bring something and you're going to be creative and sing, a miscast, and just to show off that the character fits what you're going for, and you have to change the key. That's a good idea. It just don't transpose through music notes. I think it's going to be fine. You're going to have to go through it with your accompanist at some point. The number one thing is if you've gone through it with an accompanist, you'll know how to talk to us, and we'll know.
Yeah. Anyone have any?
Can I pop in there, TJ? I'm not sure. It's
yeah.
Yeah. So just on the last thing that he said about musicnotes.com is that sometimes when it transposes, all of a sudden you have like 5 ledger lines, that you're reading through because it lowered it, 4 steps, but it's not a really readable thing for a pianist to get through. So again, that's about knowing that what a pianist is comfortable seeing and reading 1001 ledger lines cold when we're used to seeing it in the key of C, and now it's the key of, G flat, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to pose this question to all of you, and not all of you have to answer. Just like if you have a clear, concise answer. Taking liberties. I know some of you have very when you come in and auditioning for a show, and it could be your audition material, and it could also be the callback material. When someone decides to take liberties on a melody to show off, to do something higher, whatever it is, a riff, or even just playing with the melody at all, you like it, you don't like it. What are your do it, don't do it?
Depends on the show. I personally, I'm not a fan of that part of it, because I'm not really going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to do what's on the page mostly. If it's a show where, you know, that's part of it, you're going to riff, and that's a show. You know, you need to show that part. Yeah,
for sure.
But other than that,
if a girl's coming in to audition for you for Elsa and Frozen, which you do all the time, do you want that girl to sing what's on that page, or do you want her to show, I can sing higher than that, or I can do this or that? You know, what's your
specifically for Elsa is there's definitely at Disney, there is definitely a box that we need to keep in. I mean, it's a pop song. All of those girls could probably wail the crap out of the song and do tons of riffs. But then I'm fighting, trying to keep, like, what's the tune again? You know, right. So I really put them in the box and say, this is the line you can go to. And everyone is pretty much just who they are, phrases it differently. It's unique in that certain way, but they're not, you know, they're not reinventing it. Yeah, and they're really specific. Like, the composer spends a lot of time making those choices for those notes to land on those words, and so you kind of have to respect that. Auditioning is different because sometimes you have to show a little bit more, but you have to be really careful there.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Yeah, David Lamoureux.
You know, I think what John said is so right on the money. I also find that generally when someone's coming into an audition room and they do make a choice like that, like, it's not a choice in their best interest, like with how they vocally represent themselves. Like, for me, and I'm very much in the same camp, like, I'm not keen on hearing like a revamped, rewritten version of the song in most cases, especially if it's from the show that we're working on. But especially if, like, someone comes in and it's like, I'm going to go for this, like, third above ending thing, and it's kind of atrocious. It's like, oh, I don't
Which sadly is more often than not. Like,
way more often than not. When someone, way more often than not, like, someone comes in and they'll try some aggressive kind of adventurous alternate, and it's just like a complete crash and burn, and you're sitting there not, you know, you feel bad for the person in the moment, but you're also trying so desperately to understand the thought process of, like, why did you choose to do that? Like, that didn't work for anyone here. So
anyone have anything to say that either continues to support that, or is a different preference where you're like, I love it when they do that? Anyone have something else?
TJ, do you mind if I'll just say that part of this is we're figuring out just how experienced you are by these choices. And when you're if you've been doing auditioning for a while, you won't make newbie choices.
Right.
And a lot of those things, you know, and I think a lot of the time we're very forgiving. Like, okay, they haven't done this all that long, and your resume might say so. We want you to be as truthful as possible. I think if you're throwing darts in the dark trying to make us all happy, then we're not going to get a great sense of you. And that's the tricky part. You have to do this to get familiar with it. And this is a great thing that we're able to share this information. But it has to be, you know, we want to see what you are and how experienced you are, and how smart you are, and how artistic you are. And that's what we're looking for.
It's a great way for someone who doesn't have a lot on their resume to take a lot of these things to heart, because you're going to come in and seem way more polished and confident and grounded and all that stuff if you're not trying to kind of shoot at everything. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's a great way for you to seem just more less green and more wise beyond your years if you're not making crazy choices like that. John, I'm going to direct one thing at you because I want to make sure we get to this in case we run out of time. Because you deal, we all do, you know, work at the same places a lot, or all the different places, and you see the same faces. Who show up a million times to audition for your theater company or your theme park or whatever the case may be, and they keep coming, and it's either that it's just not their time yet and the puzzle piece hasn't fit exactly right, or sometimes it's like, you are not their aesthetic and it's time to maybe move on to the next thing. And I know you deal with that at Disney, I'm sure, all the time, especially probably with Frozen, which has the more outside audition. So much now is auditioned, I think, within the park first. But with Frozen particularly, like, what do you say to people who have auditioned 8 times and don't book it?
Part of it is circumstantial. You never know who comes in to the room. So there are people that audition, you know, 4 times, and on the 5th time, the competition was quite less, and we still have to get someone in the role. So it just happened. You know, like it's really hard because the amount of talent out there is amazing. And so that's one thing I could tell all the actors, to not beat themselves over if they're come in 8 times. It's very competitive. And I know for me, for Elsa, I'm looking for a specific weight to the voice because I've got 2 female leads that could sound the same, and I need to have a difference between the 2. So I could have someone that really does a fantastic job singing the song and mixes it all the way, but their voice just doesn't. It's like I'm comparing it to Anna, and it's going to be very similar to Anna. So it's one of those things where that's something you can't change. There's a
lot of women I know that come in for that and or even that are in the show that are not principals at this moment, that are physically an Elsa but vocally an Anna. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, you can't change that, and sometimes you're just not right, or vice versa, and sometimes it just doesn't. And sometimes it does take asking, you know, after a long period of time, going like, is this just a thing, or should I keep going? I'm always open for feedback. You know, people asking me those questions, because I ran into someone recently that was like, oh, I stopped coming in for you because I thought you guys didn't like me. I'm like, no, we wouldn't bring you in if we didn't like you. It just hasn't been the right fit yet. But and then I've also known people who have auditioned for Disney 8 times, and on the 9th time they book it. You know what I mean? So there's some perseverance there that plays.
I have to say that some of those, that there is a learning curve. Like when the show is brand new, they didn't see what we were going for, but now it's on YouTube, so people start to go, oh, okay, like, you know, I'm not going to belt the whole song. I'm going to try and, you know, work the song in the way we want to approach it. So it is helpful. There is a learning curve. So I do see people progress, so that on that 8th time, it's like, wow, you're totally on it. So
right and ready. Yeah.
Learn. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that's a big help to a lot of people who are interested in working for you at Disney. So here's one for everyone again. I'm going to start to not ask specific people anymore, just to get through more questions, because not everyone, some people are gonna have different degrees of passion about these things. Sorry, I have a child that's in the room because this is working at home, but she's gonna go play somewhere else. Okay, so if an actor, so it's kind of a 2-part question. If you are playing for a callback or an audition, mainly probably an audition, if you mess up, okay, you are the person that it's messed up, do you stop and you know, say, I'm so sorry, my bad, we're gonna start that over? Or do you keep powering through and leave that up to the actor, because maybe the actor is still giving it and pushing through or whatever? And then the second part of the question is, if you've messed up, or the singer is like, oh man, I must have not communicated that properly or something's happened. Your opinion on people stopping and starting over and recommunicating with you.
I'll start, TJ. I said, if it were my fault that I had screwed up something pianistically, but the actor was still able to go and I could sort of catch myself and get back on with them, I wouldn't stop it. If I felt that they were sounding, if they were new to the experience of auditioning, and I could see that, you know, the deer in headlights look on their face like, what the hell's going on? I would stop and say, my fault, so sorry, let's try this again, and I'm there to help you.
Amazing. Anyone else have anything to add to that?
Yeah, if you do make it through when your accompanist screws up, that's
Unmute,
almost
Rod, can't hear you.
Oh, no,
what?
he's unmuted.
Oh.
It might,
Maybe?
yeah, go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, if an accompanist messes up and you are able to keep going and work with it, that just makes you look amazing. So it's almost a gift if you can make it through it. If you do have to stop, just as a sort of social courtesy, don't be like, oh, my pianist messed up. We know we messed up. And we'll usually say it too. Just be like, oh, I'm sorry, I communicated that wrong. And then I'll say, no, I suck. Let's try that again. And that's all fine.
But that goes to say, I know that it really drives me crazy when and it may be the accompanist totally messing up. But if I see you look over to the accompanist in a way that makes it look like you're blaming them or whatever, and I don't care, I can tell, I'm like, yeah, they are botching this song right now. It is not their moment. But how dare you let us know that? Because just plow through. Because guess what? In live performance, excuse me for any crap happens. I won't say what I was going to say, but crap happens. And it's all about how do you push through and how do you persevere and how do you still conquer that moment. So yeah, I think that's great. I think that pushing through. But now, anyone want to an actor starting and stopping and starting over? Are you guys okay with that?
Sure. I would say as long as you don't make like the biggest apology in the world about it, it's great. You can just be like, oh, I'm so sorry, we got off on the wrong foot. Let's start again. But if it's like, oh my God, I am so sorry, I totally messed up. Like my hamster died this morning. Like I was like, that's just, you know, like that's not what we need to know. It's just stop, start over. We're all human. We've made mistakes like that. If you catch it that quick, then that makes me really impressed that you like immediately knew. And I was like, great, we'll do it again. Amazing.
Next question. What is something that draws you to a voice and when you're like, I want to explore that more, and on the reverse, what is something that turns you off? Like first few bars, you're like, nope, it's not my thing.
Pitch.
Pitch.
Pitch should be the second half of your question.
Yeah.
Forget that. It's like just, oh boy, they don't have a clue. And what would draw me in is if well, first of all, they know the material inside out, and the acting, singing is coming through the voice. So the storytelling is coming through, not just the notes, but they've got all this, everything behind what the notes are, the text, making it, you know, crisp or emotional or whatever. So.
Amazing. Robert Yako is going to send us a picture of his dead hamster.
Oh boy.
I think you can take a couple notes if the singer is singing in a way that's sustainable, as opposed to like really stretching those chords out. And that's a big thing I listen for, because when you sing in a way that's sustainable and healthy, you're able to tell your story so much better. And so if they're singing and it's like really tense, I get really worried about that show going up.
Also, would we agree, like phrasing and intonation, yeah, as well? Like just like where you're putting your punctuation, where you're carrying over, showing musicality through your emotion and how all that's connected. Oh yeah, David Lamoureux. Oh, and John, I think you both said something.
Oh, sorry. John?
No, I was just gonna say I don't want to see the work, like for placement. And it's kind of what Rob was saying. It's like I don't want to white knuckle it through. You know, it's got to have something that I know, especially at Disney when they do 6 shows a day or whatever they do. There has to be an ease to the notes that they sing. So So, you know, whatever technique, or you actually have to think about it and make sure that you made all your choices of where you're going to energize from the bottom, or if it's going to be more head voice. All that stuff needs to be worked out so that there's an ease to the singing.
Amazing.
David.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely like, you know, especially in an acting driven ensemble, for me, I'm really enamored with like cast recordings from the late 50s into like the very early 70s, where the ensemble focus isn't so much on blend, it's largeness. So like you have a lot of actors who you can tell just those voices on the recordings, they're not the most blendable, but you can tell that person sings exactly how they speak, and like what that brings to the palette from a character standpoint, you know, on a show like, you know, like a parade or something where you have these large choral moments, but you also need to be able to evoke like a huge gamut of like sound effect, shouting and color and texture from this range of voices, that if you have a group of people that were cast to sound like a choir, I think your odds of running into that sort of individuality that you can isolate and make something out of is harder. Yeah, that's
amazing. This is all so valuable. I have three more questions before, because we started a little late, so we'll just go a little over, but we'll take a couple questions from the room. But three more questions from me are, so you're in a callback with however many people, and you're an actor, and you're at a chorus audition specifically, because I know with the principal auditions, it's a little bit more clear cut and dry. Like, it's just a matter of, do you fit with the leading man or the leading lady or the character part? And, you know, are you the perfect puzzle piece that they happen to be looking for? And how well do you act and sing and do all the things together? But at an ensemble callback, and you're literally in a room of 50 people, and you get there and you're like, oh my God, was this an all back? Is everybody here? And you're just like, how do I rise? How do I get myself cast? How do I stand out to have the musical director in the casting session go, I must have this? Like, these are, and every casting session we have, the music directors are always like, I don't care where they go, but I must have this voice in my show. So what is that? What is that for you? Anyone want to speak to that?
For me, that comes from doing your homework and knowing what the score requires. If you've got something, or you got a low bass, which, you know, most scores these days, you don't have basses. Everyone sings alto now.
Yeah.
So sopranos included. So you need to have, you know, you check and you go, oh yeah, well, I'm going to have a low, you know, E or whatever, and I'm going to need to have a bass voice to have the ensemble, you know. So that comes from me doing my homework and knowing what my range is and what requirements from my voices, and that's when I'll, you know, maybe push a little harder and say, you know what, if I don't have that voice, it's you know, I'm gonna have to rewrite the score, or it's gonna, you know, drop out some of the, you know, and also a variety of sounds too. I mean, you want to get, especially with the ensemble, you want to be able to have, you know, like what David was saying, you know, jumping on what he was saying, just a variety of sound, of character, not so that it's not a choir, you know what I mean? It's characters, it's storytelling.
So you're concentrating on not only blend but then the acting and all of that, yes, making sure that's all coming through to stand out. I would assume y'all, preparedness obviously is everything, but coming in, and if you're having a vocal ensemble side, singing more than one part, does that help you, or does that, yes, yeah, okay, great. I'm seeing a lot of yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I think that utility is an overlooked valuable functionality. Like, it's very, very common that if there's a giant ensemble callback, a huge amount of the people who are in like those final dozen for me are people who I've heard sing everything. And it's now a matter of like, oh, I know that this person can cover all my bases, / maybe they specifically can cover this like coloratura bit, so all the more useful. But if I know that their voice and their part singing and their musicality, like that set of tools is well developed and I can kind of knock that through in 15 to 20 minutes of having people cycle through parts, like that person has a huge leg up for me.
And I think that there's a lot of like actors that I noticed that I'm like, I must sing tenor or I must sing soprano. The higher you sing, the more of chance I have of being in the show. When it's really not the case, and it's like there's very few voices out there that can only sing within, and there are some, I've heard them where I'm like, that person couldn't sing alto to save their life. You know what I mean? Like that just is not in their wheelhouse. And you don't want to hear someone sing something that truly isn't in their wheelhouse. But singing everything that you possibly can is only going to up your chances rather than going like, I will be your first soprano, because you may not be. You know what I mean?
And I was going to say, I was also going to say, along what David said, when you do the staging, you don't know, the director may pull 3 of you because you have a quick change off side.
Oh, 100%.
So you're going to have to totally go, okay, now you're singing alto for this little section.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to have, you can only use with what you have, because that happens all the time. It's like, I only have 5 people now on stage instead of 10. So
such a great point. Such a great point. Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
A long-term answer that doesn't fit for one show, and but if you can read music at all, if you can sight sing, I will bleed to get you in the show, because sight singing is so rare in musical theater. So if you can do it, you become so much more castable from a music
Oh, heck yeah. That is a really great point. So a couple of last questions here. And I saw it actually in the chat feed as well, but I had written it down. Asking for feedback. I've had actors ask for feedback at an audition. I've had them, of course, reach out after an audition. I personally have always said I am an open book. If you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. So be very, oh my gosh, Brent, your child is so cute. Sorry. But if you ask a question, I will answer it. So be aware that and be ready for the answer. Do you know what I mean? So don't ask if you're really wanting someone to pat your back. Do you know what I mean? Like that may not be what's going to happen. But I will answer feedback and welcome it. But do you all have, and getting feedback, would you rather it be filtered through the company? So do you want it to go through the casting director that then can pass it along to you? Or do you mind if they reach out via social media, or if they have access to your email or whatever? Like, how do you respond to feedback in general?
I think it would be good to go through the casting director, that channel. But I've had people send me Facebook messages, and I don't mind that at all. I definitely think at the audition is not the appropriate time to ask for feedback, because we haven't even made our decisions. How can we, you know what I mean, give them feedback at that point? So something after the fact, email, Facebook, or asking the casting director, would you get some feedback from me if they're willing?
So I want to tell us, because this was Scott here, and he let me tell this story in a different panel, but it was a totally different situation where we had Newsies auditions, and a brilliant dancer was out there doing their thing, and we kept having him come up because people behind the table were like thinking a myriad of different things, and he kept dancing. And instead of being of the mind of going like, they love me, I keep getting pulled out there, was like, I must not be giving them what they want. And sometimes in a vocal ensemble audition, sometimes you're pulling at people that you haven't gotten what you want, and sometimes you're pulling at people that you need as a ringer to sing with some other people because you know that they're going to be solid. So if in a situation like that, it never had happened to me, and we gave him feedback. He asked, he was like, I can tell I'm not giving you what you want. Can you give me some feedback? We did, and he booked the show. He ended up making that success story. But as a music director, if you were in that situation and someone could tell, like, is there any adjustments? Like, are you cool with asking those types of things in the moment? Like if they're being repeatedly asked up?
Yes, absolutely. I think that is totally appropriate. And one thing that Jen kept saying earlier is do it quickly. Just make your question pointed so it only takes a few seconds. And then, yes, if you can if an auditionee can sense that I think I need to change, I'm not giving them what they want, then absolutely ask to find out. Utilize your opportunity.
Great. Anyone have anything to add to that?
I agree completely. Yeah, ask. Or I may see they're so close. I'm going to say, can you try this? And if they can make that adjustment, great. Shows that they take notes quickly and can adjust quickly, and gives them raises them in the notches as far as castability for me.
And I would say something to remember as an artist, the staff has so much on their mind and so many things going, and they've been there for all day long, and their brain is falling out their rear end, and they have every intention of doing what Diane said and giving an adjustment, but sometimes 9 times out of 10 people just don't, and they or they forget, or they know that someone else in the room already has that, so why give this person an adjustment? But that doesn't mean that that's not necessarily fair. Just because this person walks in the room and already has it, and you're just every bit as good, but you don't know that you need to do this, and you haven't been asked, ask. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's your time in the room too, but like Julie said, don't take a lot of time, especially if you see that we're dealing with 100 people. Just ask it and get your answer and apply it and wish for the best. Yeah. Great. Anyone else have anything to add to that?
Well, I was just going to say, go ahead, Corey. Go for it.
It's just along those lines, if I give you a direction at the very beginning of teaching you the music for the ensemble side, the value to you is to respond if you're not entirely clear. So I'm going to be specific so that I don't have you do it over and over and over again, because you're going to have to sing it a lot of times just to get through the callback anyways. But I'm going to be specific, and if you're not understanding, please do help me, or help yourself by clarifying, and everyone else is going to appreciate you asking the question too. I find that to be more often the case. People are afraid to ask, and because they don't want to look stupid. But a lot of the times, because my brain is fried, I'm skipping words.
Yeah, such a good point. John, did you want to chime in?
Well, I was just going to say from the Disney, because someone had asked about asking question or getting feedback. I mean, you're building relationships. We have casting directors there, and if they keep bringing you back, they obviously think you're in the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
So that and your third time around, and you're not getting it, that would be a good time to just say, what am I missing? What adjustments? And they're really open to those questions, because they're bringing you in. And again, we all want you to be cast. Everyone, like, we're pulling for you. We want the right people. Yeah.
Amen. And also, Amber brought up a good point. If they have given you specific direction at the callback, take it. Do it. Because it doesn't always happen. And that's always fascinating to me. Or the casting director will be like, we want you to blah, 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 blah. And then they'll come into the room and then be like, and act as though they've never been told any information, and to make conversation with the team going, so what are you looking for here? What do you want? What are you thinking? And then it's like, we have the casting director give you that information because we don't have the time. We want to be able to give you time after you do what we've already asked to then give you adjustments if needed, but not like spend all this time with a pre-conversation. So you have to trust your casting directors. They are the front lines for the artistic team for sure. And developing those relationships are super important. We're doing a part 2 of our casting director panel next week, next Thursday. So we'll be doing that again. Great, amazing. You guys are incredible. Real quick, any words of advice for any aspiring music directors or conductors? Anything that you guys can say, or if you are playing in a pit, like just developing those relationships? You guys have anything to add at all to that world, to the non-actor world?
Sight read, grab scores and sight read. Learn, study. Go through the old ones. Go look at the new ones. Be ready for what the contemporary shows are like.
Comprehensive understanding of scores. It's great when you can be discovering little nuances in the process that you hadn't caught before, and then what a magical little gem of discovery that was. But when you're going through a piece and you're discovering like the entire motif structure of it, like as you're teaching it, you need a more exhaustive understanding of the material you're going into to guide, because it's not just teaching the notes, it's interpreting something that someone has spent an exhaustive amount of time like making cohesive and a clear-cut storytelling device.
Amen. Before we clout, we're gonna take a couple questions. Gigi, if anyone has any specific questions, raise your hand like in your camera, and Gigi's gonna pick like 2 people, and she'll spotlight your video, or she'll unmute you, and we'll you can ask either any of the panelists directly, or just.
And this is gonna be so not fair because it's a lot of you, and it's gonna be the first people I see. So I see Brittany Anderson. I'm gonna unmute you.
Hi there. Thank you all so much for this info. It's been so helpful. I had a question, like in terms of like how many songs should we have in our book? Do you like seeing stuff that's like it's filled, or should there just like maybe 5 songs in our books? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
As long as you have sort of like a repertoire where like if you ask for something else, you feel like you'd be prepared to sing something else. I personally am always really worried when someone brings in like a binder that is like the size of a large pastrami sandwich, and like first of all, like the stand may not hold up your music. I'm like, it's gonna break, and then also finding anything is just impossible, you know. So like if you know you're not going to be asked to sing something operatic at this audition today, take it out of your book. It's always such a good idea to curate your book anyway, so that if someone like Gerald Sternbach, who can like flip through your book and play anything, is like, sing this song, and you're like, I haven't touched that song in 8 years, it's not in there, you know. So and like
man, he will do that. I was at an audition, I said, I'm singing this. He goes, no, you're not, you're singing that. I was like
so yeah.
Do you think it's a good idea, real quick to tag on, and then John, do you think it's a good idea to have 2 separate books, one where you keep like your, pastrami sandwich, and then the other one that you just bring like your selection of, I think this is in the realm of what I'm auditioning for, and if they flip through, I'm good? Yeah,
I think so. Having like a backup binder is always great, but even the backup binder should be stuff you've sung relatively recently. Yeah. Everything else is in storage for future.
Yep, great. John?
I was just going to say, everything Jen said is exactly right. I don't know how many times I've been in auditions where they go, I got this song. No, do you have to? No, I got this song. And you're like going, just have 5 songs your go-to that have enough of a range that you can just go, okay, here's a patter song, here's a comedy song, here's a da-da. So that, because that's what we're going to generally ask. Do you have a ballad? Okay, here's my ballad. And just have it ready to go.
Great.
It's a time waster for sure.
And I would say definitely, guys, be familiar with the score, because more often than not, it's becoming more of a trend for people going like, that was great. Do you know, like we're looking at you for this part that you just didn't sing in the range for at all. Do you know the song that they sing in the show? And try your best to be as familiar as you can. We'll even have people, if they have to, stand over the accompanist's shoulder and sing it just so we can hear the notes if you're not memorized. But be familiar with what you're auditioning for as much as you possibly can. That was a great question, Brittany. Great answer.
One more question.
More question.
Hands. First one I see. I see Christine. Hold on, I'm gonna mute you, Christine Gillen.
Oh, I just wanted more, what's it called? Oh God, what's the word I'm looking for?
More money.
No, I would love that.
No money.
Expansion on what I said in the chat for like changing when you like sing, because I'm a dancer who sings. Like sometimes we sing first, and then sometimes we dance second, and then sometimes we dance first, and then sometimes we sing. Opinions on changing your clothes? Some people like it, I've heard, but I'm just curious.
You're asking a bunch of musicians what we think about how you look. I don't know. Not to be like crass, but I don't know if we really have a strong opinion.
As David and I can maybe weigh in on that more, because David also directs. David, do you want to?
And has a strong opinion about female wardrobe in general, but no, I mean, I'll be honest. I think when someone really does a full transformation to come in for a vocal audition right after a dance call, I feel bad. I feel like I'm looking at someone in like one playing field that like, we all know why we're here. Like we're casting this show. It feels like another hoop to make someone jump through. Like if I were ever to articulate that, you know, I really prefer that someone go get done up to come back in to sing for me after they just danced for 45 minutes. Like that's kind of absurd to me. Like we're in it. So I know you, I just watched you dance. Let me watch you sing. I have a clearer connect to understanding that you singing is you who were just dancing when I'm watching you look exactly how I just saw you dance.
I can't agree more. And I think we already are asking a lot of actors or a lot of actors for free, right? Because you're not getting paid to audition. And so it's so funny. The guys never change. Never change. But the women almost always change. And I think that I echo everything that David just said, and we'll just reiterate in something that Amber is very passionate about as well, and also shared in our casting session, that we see so many people, and if we've just girl in the red, we love her, hope can sing, and you come in a black dress, it's like, who's that? Do you know what I mean? Like we want to make, we're seeing so many people, and it's so much easier just to be in the same outfit. Pat down your face, freshen up your hair. Do you know what I mean? So you're not like a raggedy mess, but like, I don't think you need to change your clothes. Yeah. Great questions, you guys. You guys, a huge round of applause for our incredible our panel today. So amazing to have you guys. We were honored by you sharing your thoughts, and honored, of course, each time I get to work with any of you. And thank you so much for all that you do for artists in general.